I let everyone mock me as Shin Chenxi's lapdog for 3 years, but none of them knew every insult was secretly turning into money for me. Li Fei kept joking that I had some mysterious system, but if he knew the truth behind these 3 years, he would lose his mind instantly. The moment Shin Chenxi stepped out of that Rolls-Royce, the entire school froze like she belonged in a completely different world from ours. I forced the brightest smile possible while offering her sour plum soup, even though I already knew she would ignore me again today. Every whisper calling me the king of bootlickers sounded pathetic to me, because none of them understood I was being paid for this act. Li Fei praised my sour plum soup like treasure, but the second I revealed its real price, his entire expression collapsed in disbelief. Li Fei imagined I was some hidden hero secretly supporting Shin Chenxi from the shadows, while everyone misunderstood me as a pathetic clown. When I showed Li Fei the transfer record for 500,000 yuan, his face twisted like his entire worldview had shattered forever. I finally explained everything to Li Fei, including how Tianhua Entertainment had paid me monthly to protect Shin Chenxi's image. Shin Chenxi became a superstar last night, and today marked the final day of the strange role I had played beside her for years. Right when I thought my job was finally over, Zhao Shuangshuang suddenly appeared and demanded that I become her personal bootlicker next. The second Zhao Shuangshuang appeared, Li Fei abandoned me instantly like a coward escaping from some terrifying wild predator nearby. Standing that close to Zhao Shuangshuang for the first time, I finally understood why nobody in school dared challenge her reputation. Instead of threatening me, Zhao Shuangshuang shocked me by calmly offering a full-month contract to flatter only her from now on. I accepted her offer immediately, because replacing one client with another was simply part of how I survived all these years. When Zhao Shuangshuang asked if I had ever truly loved Shin Chenxi, I answered her with complete honesty about my profession. I told her bootlicking was simply my job, and as long as someone paid enough money, I could sincerely play any role required. For the first time, Zhao Shuangshuang realized the entire school had misunderstood me, and suddenly her eyes filled with dangerous curiosity. Zhao Shuangshuang called me her personal bootlicker, but I still insisted on taking a deposit before officially starting next week. That night, I crossed Shin Chenxi's name out of my notebook and calmly prepared myself for the next paying client already waiting. I promised myself that today I would finally win against Song Yusin, even though every previous Saturday ended with my complete defeat. Even the taxi driver pitied me, warning that living under a woman's control would eventually destroy whatever dignity I still had left. The moment the villa gates opened, I saw Song Yusin standing above me like a beautiful villain waiting patiently for her prey tonight. Her face was dangerously beautiful, but somehow my attention always drifted toward those long, powerful legs glowing under the sunset light. Just meeting Song Yusin's eyes for a second filled me with danger, because behind her beauty hid someone completely insane inside. My injured leg still ached from carrying Shin Chenxi through traffic yesterday, but money always forced me to keep moving forward anyway. Even while limping into the villa, I knew I would still endure whatever madness Song Yusin prepared as long as she kept paying me. Song Yusin never truly hated me personally, because in her eyes I was only a replacement for the man who stole her mother away. When Song Yusin first saw me at that anime convention, she mistook me for him, and that single moment changed everything forever. Every Saturday, Song Yusin transformed herself into some dramatic anime heroine while using me to vent all her buried hatred and pain. Honestly, enduring some physical suffering meant nothing to me anymore, because 10,000 yuan every Saturday solved far too many problems. The moment Song Yusin mocked my injured leg, I immediately buried my pride and apologized like the perfect professional bootlicker. When Song Yusin casually mentioned her dirty shoes, I instantly understood that another humiliation ritual was about to begin again tonight. Before I could even touch her shoe, Song Yusin pressed her foot against my head and slowly cleaned it herself while mocking me. Song Yusin expected anger and humiliation from me, but instead I smiled calmly, which completely ruined the satisfaction she wanted tonight. Instead of feeling ashamed, I carefully polished her other shoe too, because for me this was simply part of the job description. The second my hand moved near her ankle, Song Yusin instantly panicked, and for once her arrogant mask completely cracked apart. She kept calling me a disgusting pervert, but honestly her angry tsundere voice sounded more adorable than insulting to my otaku brain. Song Yusin enjoyed stepping on me because she imagined crushing the man she hated, while I calmly treated everything as professional work. Just when I thought the humiliation game was finally ending, Song Yusin smiled coldly and announced that tonight I would play her eunuch. I prepared myself mentally to become her eunuch today, but the moment I saw those rabbit ears, my soul almost left my body entirely. Song Yusin walked out wearing a phoenix robe so majestic that for one terrifying second I almost forgot she was completely insane. The way Song Yusin carried herself in that robe made her look less like a rich girl and more like a true ruler from history. Even while cursing her in my heart, I still lowered my head obediently because 10,000 yuan could bury almost any pride I had. When Song Yusin placed those fluffy rabbit ears on my head, I finally realized realized this woman truly enjoyed destroying my dignity slowly. The more uncomfortable I became, the brighter Song Yusin smiled, as though she had finally found a way to defeat me emotionally. She whispered near my ear with terrifying excitement, warning that from now on I would belong entirely beneath her control forever. I immediately lowered my attitude further because resisting Song Yusin only encouraged her dangerous imagination even more than before. The moment I almost said the word "Dad," Song Yusin's entire expression twisted like I had triggered some forbidden curse inside her. Just when I thought I escaped the bunny outfit, Song Yusin coldly reminded me to wear it before seeing her again tonight. I casually mentioned her monthly condition to calm her mood, but the shocked blush on her face completely caught me off guard instead. For just 1 second, Song Yusin looked emotionally shaken, but she immediately hid it again behind her arrogant attitude toward me. After changing into the bunny costume, I stared into the mirror and realized I actually looked disturbingly convincing wearing it somehow. At that point, I honestly began considering whether becoming a bunny boy at bars might actually earn me even more money later. While cooking tangyuan in the kitchen, I quietly accepted that satisfying bizarre requests was simply part of my strange profession now. When Song Yusin opened the bedroom door again, her imperial gaze struck me so hard that my mind nearly stopped working completely. The way Song Yusin described herself as the only true empress alive almost made me believe she had ruled an empire before. Since she insisted on becoming an empress, I lowered my head respectfully and accepted my role as her loyal palace eunuch completely. For the first time in her life, Song Yusin allowed a man to feed her directly, and the atmosphere suddenly became strangely gentle. The peaceful moment shattered instantly after the burning tangyuan scalded Song Yusin's mouth and awakened her terrifying side once again. Sitting on that dragon chair, Song Yusin looked so overwhelmingly majestic that even breathing near her suddenly felt dangerous to me. When Song Yusin fully immersed herself in the role of a female emperor, she honestly looked worthy of ruling an entire empire alone. Just as I prepared to obey her punishment, Song Yusin suddenly stopped me after realizing what eating that tangyuan truly implied. Song Yusin knocked the tangyuan onto the floor coldly, then calmly announced that eating it would now become my reward instead. Without hesitation, I picked the tangyuan off the spotless floor and swallowed it, because surviving mattered more to me than pride ever could. After that humiliation, I carefully cooled the next tangyuan first before feeding Song Yusin again like nothing had even happened. Watching Song Yusin quietly eat without speaking, I suddenly realized she actually looked beautiful whenever she lowered her guard slightly. Deep inside, Song Yusin was only a lonely girl abandoned emotionally after losing the only person she once trusted completely. To protect herself from being hurt again, Song Yusin built layers of arrogance and fantasy around the fragile parts of her heart. I understood her pain, but I also knew I was only a paid bootlicker, not someone capable of healing her broken heart. When Song Yusin spat the final tangyuan back into the spoon, I ate it immediately before she could even finish speaking. As thanks for her special treatment, I quietly prepared brown sugar water because I knew her stomach was already starting to hurt badly. Even while pretending to stay cold, Song Yusin secretly looked relieved the moment the warm sugar water eased her abdominal pain slightly. For a brief moment, Song Yusin almost touched my rabbit ears naturally before suddenly remembering her pride and stopping herself completely. Seeing her hesitation, I bent closer voluntarily, and Song Yusin finally touched the rabbit ears with childish satisfaction beside me. While removing her heavy phoenix ornaments, Song Yusin finally allowed me to help her without arguing or resisting for once. The instant Song Yusin saw my face reflected beside hers, her warmth vanished completely and terrifying madness returned again suddenly. Without warning, Song Yusin shoved me onto the bed and grabbed my throat like she wanted absolute control over my existence itself. For one painful second, I wondered whether anyone in this world would feel heartbroken seeing me treated like this by someone else. When Song Yusin saw sadness in my eyes, she suddenly panicked and kicked me out before her emotions completely betrayed her. The way Song Yusin suddenly treated me kindly felt terrifying, because this Chinibu girl never changed without planning something dangerous first. I spent the entire afternoon serving Song Yusin carefully, afraid that one wrong move would trigger another bizarre punishment from her. Compared to the countless bootlickers surrounding her at school, Song Yusin slowly realized I genuinely treated her differently from everyone else. In Song Yusin's mind, my patience and care slowly transformed from professionalism into proof that I had secretly fallen for her. Because of her beauty, Song Yusin believed it was only natural for another bootlicker to eventually become obsessed with her completely. After enduring her intense gaze for an entire day, I finally survived another exhausting weekend of professional bootlicking somehow. On Sunday morning, I prepared breakfast carefully, because serving this final meal officially marked the end of my work for the week. Song Yusin believed I practiced cooking only to make her happy, and somehow that misunderstanding secretly pleased her far too much. My cooking skills actually came from years of preparing breakfast for Shinchensi before sunrise every single school morning. Now Now that my work with Shinchenzi was finally over, even smiling during breakfast suddenly felt lighter and more relaxing for me. When work finally ended, Song Yusin unexpectedly walked me all the way to the villa gate herself without her usual arrogance anymore. Seeing my injured leg again, Song Yusin suddenly gave me extra money, and guilt quietly appeared inside her eyes for the first time. The moment I realized she paid me 30,000 yuan total, every emotional wound inside my body instantly healed itself completely. Even the taxi driver looked jealous after seeing that fairy-like girl personally standing outside to wave goodbye to me warmly. Instead of feeling romantic, I only became more terrified, because next week this Chinibu girl would definitely torture me even worse somehow. The taxi finally stopped at the municipal hospital, and the driver's expression changed completely after understanding my real situation. Holding my grandmother's hand inside that hospital room, I finally felt all the suffering of these past 3 years become worthwhile. When Grandma promised to cook spicy soup again after going home, I suddenly felt happier than earning any amount of money before. Back when Grandma was first hospitalized, I secretly cried alone because I truly believed I might lose my only remaining family forever. As the taxi carried Grandma and me home beneath warm spring sunlight, I finally began believing my painful life could truly change someday. For the first time in 3 years, I woke up to Grandma's simple breakfast instead of rushing desperately to serve someone else before sunrise again. That ordinary breakfast tasted better than any luxury meal because I finally felt like my exhausting life was slowly becoming normal again. Even after I left for school, Grandma kept standing outside watching me disappear like she was afraid I might vanish someday completely. Until last week, my mornings always started before sunrise because Shinchenzi's breakfast needed to be perfect every single day without fail. For 3 entire years, I waited outside the school gates every morning just to hand Shinchenzi fresh warm breakfast personally. Because Shinchenzi's tastes were unbelievably difficult, I forced myself to master cooking just to survive financially beside her. Half a year later, Shinchenzi stopped eating anyone else's breakfast entirely, which quietly solved many of my financial problems too. Everything I revealed before Zhao Shuangshuang last Friday was carefully planned because I needed a perfect replacement client immediately afterward. Even Sundays belonged to another client, the beautiful CEO Lu Siue, whose insomnia only disappeared whenever I massaged her personally. Remembering Song Yusin's madness from yesterday still made my spine freeze, because that female emperor act felt terrifyingly real to me. At exactly 6:30, I entered experimental high school without waiting outside the gates for Shinchenzi for the very first time. The second I entered the classroom, everyone started laughing and calling me bootlicker bro like they always had for years already. After enduring this humiliation for 3 years straight, hearing those insults no longer affected my emotions even slightly anymore at all. My seat beside the classroom window always felt strangely ironic, like I was trapped inside some miserable anime protagonist storyline myself. For 3 entire years, the school deliberately seated me beside Shinchenzi so I could continue protecting her image publicly every day. The first person who noticed Shinchenzi missing beside me was Shin Shuanglong, the class monitor secretly obsessed with her for years. When I calmly said I would focus on studying now instead of bootlicking, Shin Shuanglong looked completely shocked beyond belief instantly. At exactly 6:45, Shinchenzi finally appeared outside the classroom window shining brighter than everyone else around her naturally. Instead of chasing after Shinchenzi like before, I only glanced once before returning calmly to my unfinished school exercises again. When Shinchenzi realized I didn't wait for her today, the entire classroom suddenly sensed that something between us had completely changed. With only 2 months before the college entrance exam, everyone in class already looked more like exhausted machines than actual teenagers anymore. Even inside that lifeless classroom, Shinchenzi still stood out so brightly that nobody could stop staring at her naturally. Among thousands of girls across the sacred capital, Shinchenzi was chosen instantly because her beauty truly overwhelmed everyone around her completely. Even the prettiest girls in our class completely disappeared beside Shinchenzi, like ordinary candles standing next to the moon itself. That simple black tank top looked strangely fashionable on Shinchenzi because confidence itself had already become part of her beauty. After spending 3 years constantly beside Shinchenzi, nobody in school understood her habits and moods better than I did personally. Now that the contract with Tianhua Entertainment had officially ended, I knew keeping my distance from Shinchenzi was absolutely necessary. I even offered my seat beside Shinchenzi to Shin Shuanglong, nearly giving that poor guy a complete nervous breakdown immediately. Shin Shuanglong reacted like I had offered him a seat beside death itself instead of the most beautiful girl in school, honestly. When Shinchenzi entered the classroom, she calmly cleaned her own desk for the first time in years without waiting for me anymore. In the past, I would have rushed to clean everything for Shinchenzi before she even needed to ask me once at all. For the first time in 3 years, Shinchenzi spoke to me first after noticing I never waited outside the school gates this morning. Of course, I understood what Shinchenzi truly meant, because without me waiting outside today, she never got breakfast before training. Watching me ignore Shinchenzi so casually nearly shattered Shin Shuanglong's understanding of reality completely right there inside class. When Shinchenzi noticed the bandages around my injured leg, her cold expression softened for the very first time toward me unexpectedly. During the finals last week, I carried Shinchenzi through traffic myself because arriving late would have destroyed her entire future instantly. Even during her brutal weekend training, Shinchenzi secretly kept worrying whether my injured leg had become something serious afterward. When Shinchenzi offered to take responsibility for my future if my injury became permanent, I honestly couldn't help laughing helplessly. I joked that her admirers would probably start breaking their own legs if hearing she might take responsibility for someone's entire future. But Shinchenzi's cold eyes never wavered because unlike everyone else around her, she truly meant every single word she said. It felt strange seeing Shinchenzi speak so much today after spending 3 years treating me colder than winter ice every single day. No matter how differently Shinchenzi acted today, I already understood our relationship had officially ended together with the contract itself. When I calmly refused her concern about my injury, Shinchenzi only nodded softly without showing any unnecessary emotion afterward. 3 years ago, Grandma's terrifying hospital bills nearly crushed me completely before Tianhua Entertainment suddenly offered me a chance to survive. Even if money started everything, somewhere along the way I also became genuinely grateful toward Shinchenzi for saving our lives too. When I quietly thanked Shinchenzi for these past 3 years, confusion immediately appeared inside her usually cold and unreadable eyes. Instead of explaining myself further, I focused completely on the math test where my careless mistake still annoyed me more than expected. Even Shin Shuanglong looked at me like some legendary hero after watching me survive Shinchenzi's attention without panicking today somehow. The moment Teacher Wang entered the classroom, the entire atmosphere froze instantly like wild animals sensing an approaching predator nearby. Teacher Wang scolded everyone mercilessly for failing to achieve perfect scores, making the exhausted classroom atmosphere even heavier than before. Even the terrifying Teacher Wang softened slightly whenever looking at me because I was the only student who solved the final problem correctly. As I stood up to explain the final problem, Shinchenzi quietly moved aside first so I could pass more easily beside her. The second Shinchenzi stood beside the desks, the entire classroom unconsciously stared at her like witnessing something completely unreal again. My injured leg suddenly lost balance while passing by Shinchenzi, and for one terrifying second I thought I would collapse completely. Before I could hit the floor, Shinchenzi suddenly grabbed my wrist tightly and stopped me from falling in front of everyone. The moment Wang Guangju saw me holding Shinchenzi's wrist, jealousy exploded inside him like gasoline thrown directly onto fire immediately. Wang Guangju immediately accused me of taking advantage of Shinchenzi because he desperately wanted my seat beside her himself all along. Before Teacher Wang could respond, Shinchenzi's cold voice instantly crushed Wang Guangju's confidence completely in front of the entire class. When Shinchenzi calmly admitted she was the one who grabbed my hand first, the entire classroom exploded into complete chaos afterward instantly. Then Shinchenzi gently supported my arm herself, leaving Wang Guangju sitting there completely defeated and emotionally destroyed inside class. Standing on that podium, I solved the entire problem from memory because real bootlickers survive only when they remain genuinely useful. If I had been ugly and useless, Shinchenzi would have thrown me away years ago no matter how shamelessly I followed her. While I explained the final problem seriously, Shinchenzi remained beside the podium quietly waiting to help me walk back afterward. To everyone in experimental high school, Shinchenzi already felt less like a student and more like an untouchable celebrity goddess. The classroom whispers grew louder because nobody understood how the universe's greatest bootlicker suddenly seemed to be winning somehow. Watching Shinchenzi protect me publicly nearly drove Wang Guangju insane because even rich second generations never received this treatment before. Even while humiliating himself internally, Wang Guangju kept convincing himself Shinchenzi only pitted me as an injured classmate instead. The moment I finished solving the problem, Shinchenzi stepped forward naturally and supported my arm before everyone watching below us. Even Teacher Wang noticed something strange between us today, which was why he suddenly called Shinchenzi alone to his office afterward. The second Shinchenzi left the classroom, Lu Mingfei immediately turned around looking at me like I had become some legendary protagonist. Lu Mingfei genuinely believed I had reincarnated from the future because normal people simply could not conquer Shinchenzi like this. 3 years ago, I still carried the same foolish innocence Lu Mingfei had now before reality slowly crushed every soft part inside me. Outwardly, I still looked like an ordinary harmless student, but inside I had already become calculating and emotionally exhausted completely. When Lu Mingfei asked about Shinchenzi again, I answered him with the darkest truth I learned during these painful 3 years. Youth means talented people can order ordinary students around freely while those same students still feel grateful for the humiliation somehow. Even after enduring years of humiliation beneath Shinchenzi's shadow, I never once truly believed myself inferior to anyone anyone around me. Lu Mingfei stared at me speechlessly because my answer sounded nothing like the romantic confession story he expected to hear before. Without Shinchensi consuming all my energy anymore, I finally planned to push my grades into the top 10 of the entire school. Just from hearing approaching footsteps outside, I instantly recognized Shinchensi returning because nobody understood her habits better than me. When Shinchensi appeared at the classroom door again, Lu Mingfei looked at me like I had become some terrifying supernatural monster instead. When Zhao Shuangshuang appeared beside Shinchensi, the entire classroom instantly felt like two rival queens had entered the battlefield together. The moment Zhao Shuangshuang demanded her love-filled breakfast publicly, every student in class nearly stopped breathing from pure shock instantly. Everyone knew only Shinchensi ever received breakfast from me, which made Zhao Shuangshuang's words feel completely unbelievable to them all. Instead of answering Zhao Shuangshuang directly, I simply rubbed my fingers together because money mattered more than words between us anyway. The second I mentioned money again, Zhao Shuangshuang's proud expression immediately stiffened because she still lacked 1,000 yuan completely. Because Shinchensi stood beside her sworn rival, Zhao Shuangshuang absolutely refused to lower her pride publicly in front of everyone watching. To regain control, Zhao Shuangshuang deliberately asked whether I had finally stopped bootlicking Shinchensi completely after all these years. Before I could answer anything, Shinchensi suddenly defended me again and explained my injured ankle to the entire classroom herself. Zhao Shuangshuang's victorious smile disappeared instantly after Shinchensi crushed her momentum with only a single calm sentence spoken. Even while retreating angrily, Zhao Shuangshuang still noticed my money-counting gesture because she already understood exactly what I wanted from her. Watching Zhao Shuangshuang storm away, I already knew the bait had worked perfectly and she would return sooner or later anyway. After Zhao Shuangshuang retreated, both Lu Mingfei and Shin Shuanglong stared at me like I had become some terrifying mastermind overnight. Lu Mingfei begged desperately for lessons, convinced I had somehow mastered an impossible technique capable of controlling beautiful girls completely. I told Lu Mingfei the first rule of surviving as a bootlicker was learning how to completely abandon your personal dignity first. The moment I mentioned shamelessness as a skill, Lu Mingfei's hopeful expression collapsed like his dreams had just been murdered publicly. Back in the rear seats, Zhao Shuangshuang immediately began plotting revenge while her best friend Yi Zhizhi listened nervously beside her. Even Yi Zhizhi warned Zhao Shuangshuang not to challenge Shinchensi now because her entertainment company backing had become terrifyingly powerful. Zhao Shuangshuang revealed her real goal calmly because stealing Shinchensi's loyal bootlicker would humiliate her far more deeply than insults ever could. Nobody believed Zhao Shuangshuang could ever steal me away because everyone thought my loyalty toward Shinchensi bordered on absolute madness. Still missing 1,000 yuan, Zhao Shuangshuang secretly smiled because she already believed Chu Feng would soon belong entirely beside her instead.